All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to Studio 44. You are watching Underdogs, and today I have the pleasure of introducing the man himself, John Schellenberg. John, welcome to the show.
I appreciate being here with you. Thank you.
So, you're a complex individual in a good way. And that I mean that in all compliments. I have learned the most scratched surface of you as a man, and I cannot wait for the viewers to really dig in and find out who in the hell is John Schellenberg. Okay, so I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need you to go all the way back. We like to start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about where you were born.
All right. Well, I was born in Frankfurt Hospital in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My mother and father were both Philadelphians, and they actually fell in love in a cheesesteak shop, of all places. And my father loves to tell the stories of the cheesesteak shop. And as a matter of fact, a Philadelphia mob boss used to come in every Friday and eat lunch in my father's, place of employ. And one day after high school, my mother walked in, and the rest is history. They fell in love, and along came little Johnny.
Now, it's hard to glaze over. My boss eats at Dad's restaurant, where he's employed.
Oh yeah, no, it is very tough to gloss over that. I mean, the stories that my father was a storyteller. My father was the kind of man that when you spoke to my father, you were listening. I mean, my father had a very commanding voice. He had a very commanding presence. He was very large in his physical demeanor. But also his character, he was always there with a joke. He drove tractor trailer for 28 years later in his life, but his handle was Kimosabe, which we all know is the Lone Ranger. But to go back to, I digress, to go back to the eatery, to go back to the cheesesteak place. So the way my father told the story is every Friday, he was working with his best friend Louis, and Louis's dad owned the shop. It was a pizza shop, pizza cheesesteak. And so every Friday, this black limousine, black Cadillac, would pull up, and a gorilla would get out of the side of the car, and he'd open up the back door. He'd make sure everything was clear, and he'd bring in this elderly gentleman, and he'd walk to the back of the restaurant. He'd kiss Louis's father on each cheek, and he'd sit at the same table every Friday. And so my father was watching this, and he said to Louis, he said, "Louis, who is this guy? Like, who is this guy that's in here every Friday? Like, so important." And Louis looked at my father and said, "That's him. That's the man. That's the boss of Philadelphia." And so, as the story goes, my father was always very congenial and very receptive to everything that was happening in the shop. And as a matter of fact, Louis left my father a very, very special gift. My father was an orphan, and Louis passed away very early. But before he died, he gave my father his coat. Because he never wanted my father to be cold. He never wanted my father to my father always admired, I guess, the jacket, the coat, and he gave it to my father because they were like brothers. My father didn't really have a brother. The brother that he did have had abandoned him, and like I said, my father was an orphan. So it was an interesting story. My father had no family. My mother did have a family. And so this was, I mean, hell, her family was even located on Godfrey Avenue, which is a very beautiful area in Philadelphia at the time. And so here's my mother with a background of family and everything like that. And she meets a man and falls in love with a man who basically didn't have anyone. And so It's quite a story. I mean, we could probably spend an entire podcast just talking about my father.
Well, it sounds like we're going to need a part two and a part three. It's called John's Dad. Okay. John's dad and little Louie.
Yeah, there you go. And little Louie.
There we
Yeah,
go.
right.
So let's talk about being a kid up in Allentown, up in Pennsylvania. What was that like?
Oh my God, it was great. Are you kidding? Lehigh Valley, growing up, you had 4 beautiful seasons. I mean, it wasn't very populated. We were riding bikes. I had a season pass to the swimming pool every summer. My father would make sure he and myself and my 2 brothers would always have a season pass to the swimming pool every summer. So we'd get out and we'd spend the whole summer riding bikes, climbing trees, swimming in the pool. I mean, we were all part of the football leagues. It was great growing up in Pennsylvania. It was absolutely great.
So when we think about our childhood, we think about the good, the bad, the indifferent. You say you had 2 brothers.
I did have 2
Yeah.
brothers. Currently, I have 1 brother.
Gotcha.
My brother, Daniel Eric Schellenberg,
Very strong name, by the way.
very strong name, and he was a very strong character and a very strong human being. He defended the weak. He was captain of his football team right off the bat. When Danny stepped on the field, Danny didn't get off the field. So he was part of the offense, defense, kicking, receiving. He never left the field. He was an incredible football player. And tragically, he was killed at the age of 14. So,
My goodness.
yeah.
And it's kind of interesting when we think about like growing older. The biggest misconception is you think about when we were little and how we made fun of the old people, right?
Oh, yeah.
And now to even make it to their age is a gift.
It really is. And, it's interesting that you bring up the conversation of age. I am 56. And my birthday is right around the corner, and I'm turning 57 years old. And when I look back at the timeline, I probably have about 17 journals full of the life up to now. And it's staggering to think about the accomplishments, the failures, the ups, the downs, the ins, the outs of making it to this age. It's incredible. It really is.
So when we talk about the journey, it's actually my favorite part of conversation is finding out what people have experienced, where they've been, what they've seen, and the things that really built us, the things that made us who we are today. And a lot of it revolved around family. I know, having a strong father, strong mother in your life, or one or both or none. I've talked to people from all walks of life that have had to battle through different not just tragedy, but they've had their own path to make. And when it comes to your story, your journey, let's talk about something throughout your life. What are you most proud of accomplishing up to this point? Can you name 1 or 2 of those?
Yeah, I can dig where you're going. Yeah, I think that where we come from is often overlooked. I think that what we've overcome to make something of this life, to make something of ourselves in this life, is for me, it's been a true path of exploration, because my father, like I said, to go back, I digress, to go back to my father. When you're raised by a man who was abandoned, it's family is a huge concept to my father. Having something to call your own, I think that the accomplishment is number one, that I am a father. I have I have a daughter, and I have a beautiful stepdaughter. I have a beautiful daughter and stepdaughter. Um, I've I've managed to survive every slant or anything that we could see coming against us as a as a man, where you're like, I have to face this, and I have to persevere. I think that my father instilled that in me, that I think one of the greatest accomplishments of the journey is that there is no retreat. There is no uh well, I'm just going to let this slide. You improvise, you overcome, you adapt as you go along. I think that I utilize that in my career, in my art, in my parenting, in my relationship with my wife, uh, which I treasure. And I think that if I was to say something I'm proud of, I think that those that know me know the genuine love and dedication that I have to everything that I put my heart into.
See, and that part usually gets overlooked as a man.
I agree. Especially in today's world.
Yeah.
I think in today's society, we are so overwhelmed with generic uh, subterfuge. It's all this other stuff, and I think that men and women, they lose track of what's important. And I think if you just step away for a moment and really meditate, which I do daily, and if you meditate on what your life is about and where you're going and what it means to you, I think that it brings a genuine value to your life that you're not going to be able to buy with a brand or a piece of jewelry or anything like that. I think that true value is instilled within, and I think that's what attracts people. I think that the true attraction is that there's something in that human being. I can feel it, an energy coming off of that human being.
That's so good. My daughter, one day, she will realize, and she, believe me, she is a great kid, very, very humble, very thankful. But one day she'll realize that I did everything that it took. That there wasn't a moment that I ever said, well, maybe I can't handle it. Even on the darkest day that I thought that it was too much, there was still that there was that piece of me.
Yeah.
I think my dad definitely instilled that into me. My mother left when I was 2,
Ooh.
and
Oh.
my dad.
That's how old my youngest brother Joshua.
Yeah.
We call him Josh, but his name is Joshua Michael.
So the funny part is, I also have a brother named Josh.
Get out.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities coming today.
I'm telling you.
I can feel it. But and I don't blame her. She had her own demon she was battling at the time.
Absolutely.
Since then, we've reconnected,
And how
established.
old is your daughter?
Almost 18.
Wow. I have a 26-year-old. Yeah.
Gotcha. And
a 19-year-old.
there is no option to quit.
No.
There is no in my mind, like there is no I'm sorry. Like it's not about not giving her something she wants. It's she will not go without. I will go without before she does.
Oh, I've done it.
Yeah.
Daniel, I've done it. I will tell you this right now, that I will never forget one of the most heartbreaking moments of my life. And I had to step away, because there was I knew that it was in her best interest. I had to when her mother and I separated, it was tumultuous, and the love that I have for her, but also the love that her mother has for her. I knew that her mother would shield her, and I knew that's what she was doing even in our separation. And I could see that. And I think that when a man, see, that's, you talked earlier about being a man and the trials that a man goes through. Um, that's a tough one for a man to open up to and just expound on. But the reality is that we make sacrifices as men that it's not a matter of if you want to. It's a matter of it's the right thing to do. And now my daughter is in RN school and honor roll, and she has a background in radiology, and she's absolutely stunning and healthy and engaged. And I love her fiance. But those types of things, when you look at that, that's part of the things I'm proud of. Like, that's part of that success, is that she's 26, not addicted to anything, has never had a child, she is engaged, she is in RN school in a fast track program, she is stunning. I mean, if she were to walk in this room right now, I'm not kidding. I mean, she's stunning. You'd think, what magazine portfolio did she just walk out of? Like, that's, and she's beautiful and healthy and strong. And that's what I always told my girls. All I ever desire for you is to be happy, healthy, and strong. That's the greatest thing you can be for me, and if that includes distance from me, if that includes me not being engaged at all times. But I love them all very much. And I think it's pretty much how I've lived my life. It's that I follow my heart, and I can't do things like that I see some people do. I can't engage in frivolity. I just can't. Everything to me is a direction and where I want my life to progress to, and who I want to be, and what I want to provide, and in even in my own journey. And I don't always reach the goal. I mean, I don't think any of us do. I don't think there's one person that sets out with an objective and reaches every goal. I just don't. And you pick up the pieces and you make shift, and you move on to the next. And I really think that's, to, again, I digress, to go back to what you had said about what am I proud of? I think it's the ability to improvise, overcome, and adapt to whatever issues are going on.
So good. What I love to hear, especially when it comes to, you can tell how proud you are as a father.
I appreciate
and a lot of times it has to show through actions and not just a lot of words. So it's very cool to see the success that your relationship is now. You can feel that. You can feel that, and we don't have to dig too deep, but you can tell that there was some pretty hard lessons.
Oh yeah,
through that.
And
journey.
Just not to expound on this too much further, but my relationship with my mother, as I think I was briefing you on earlier, is rather exceptional. And a couple months ago, this just happened. This is kind of neat to talk about. My mother called me, and we talk every day. There are times I talk to my mother more than I talk to my wife. And she called me, and she had a concern on her heart about Chloe. And that's my 26-year-old. And she had said, Johnny, she misses you. She lives down in Fort Myers, and of course I'm in Ocala. It's about a 5-hour difference. And I said, well, Mom, I said, I miss her too, and I love her. And she said, you need to reach out to her. And what's interesting was my response. I think it had even sparked something in my own mind. It was, I said to her in response to her, you need to call her, you need to be a part of her life. And I had said, Mom, she's 26 years old. I said, she's engaged. She's in RN school. She's on a fast track program. I mean, she's in 6 lectures a day. I said, what am I going to do for her? And she said, you're going to be there.
Mm.
You're going to be there. So I think that presence uh, is a lot. It's not a matter of what you do, it's that you're there, that you're significant in listening and communicating and reaching out and being interested in your child. And we're seeing, I mean, it's so often, I mean, how many times are you in a restaurant and you're sitting across from a family and there's no one talking to one another. They're just all on their phones. They're all desensitized to the family unit. And I think that it's interesting when we reflect on those times. It's like, oh, we all love holidays. We all love all these things. It's like, well, what about a Monday? What about lunch on a Thursday? You know, it's how much are you involved? It's not just about the, everything else. And so that hit me pretty hard. That was like a landslide. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I got a little upset on the phone.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I said, Ma, I said, you're scratching a nerve. I said, I'm 5 hours away. She goes, you could meet her halfway. You could do these things, all this kind of things like that. And so I did.
Yeah.
I did. And time is fleeting.
Yeah.
You know.
But she's also busy, and you recognize that.
Yes.
So when
I was respecting that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted my mother to understand. I was like, Mom, I don't want to be a trouble to her. And that's what I said to her.
Yep.
I don't want to be bothersome.
If you think about it, being there for her is very multifaceted. It doesn't have to just be being there in person. It's being there that if she calls at 2 a.m. and she's having a rough day or you can't sleep, that you're the guy that answers the phone that says, tell me all your problems, lay it out on.
And Daniel, I'm going to tell you something right
go.
now, brother. I'm going to tell you something right now. This is the God's honest truth. You get my daughter Chloe on the phone, and she's going to tell you about her day. You're in there for about an hour, hour and a half. I mean, you're going for the ride. I mean, it's, and you just got to let her go, And it's so funny because she's sitting in line at Dunkin'. She's getting her iced espresso or something on her way into school or something like that. It's just being a father is wonderful. But it's not all that a man is. Being a husband is not all that a man is. I think that we've gotten to a place in society sometimes when I look at it, all these titles that we have, who are you for you? What does your life mean to you? Like, what do you do for you? Is there anything rewarding? Not from somebody's accolade or somebody else chiming in and giving you credit or anything like that. What do you feel about you? And I think that's where a lot of the cover-ups are. I think a lot of people cover up their inadequacies with false, all this false identity. And it's just not a place that I can reside in. If I walk into a room and I can feel it, the energy, I'm big on energy. You'll probably hear me talk about that a couple times. I can read the energy in a room. I can walk into a room and I can tell you, what's going on, just energy wise, what I'm picking up from it.
That's awesome. So that's actually a good segue. I love that we don't write any of this down because I always want it to flow. And what you just said, I want to touch on one piece,
please,
and then we're gonna really, really dig in. So when I said I could feel the pain, I've always been very empathetic to people. I've always wanted to see people do good, and
to do well,
and a lot of times more than they wanted for themselves.
That's a sin of mine. That's a sin of mine.
I want to encourage you with something. Okay.
I'm you got me intrigued.
At least you're sitting down. No matter what happened in your relationship, and I don't even want to tell the listeners in this episode what any of those things were. I want them to feel this part. Whatever happened during that journey with your kids, with whatever you went through, You have absolutely got to give yourself grace right now. Absolute forgiveness for yourself. And I'll tell you why. It's because when we're going through something, we forget that our parents are people too.
Amen.
And
Amen to that.
we forget,
Yeah.
like I'm 44 years old right now. I feel 20 something in my head. I feel now my back does not feel my although I did I I'll tell you about a product later. It actually helped my back.
I look
quite a
forward
bit.
to it.
But I had to forgive my parents in many different ways. The one thing that I will never be ashamed of, or never be um like growing up with our dad was a disciplinary, he wasn't military, but he was like, it was his way or the highway. And
Oh yeah, there was
yeah,
no arguing with
yeah,
my father. My father was 265 pounds of bear.
gotcha.
His hand could literally wrap around my face, like it literally would cover
Yeah,
my skull. I mean, he was
yeah,
a huge bear of a man.
yeah.
I
You
mean,
don't
he
you
was
don't
amazing.
talk back to that kind of guy.
No, no.
And where I'm going with this is, I had to remember that my dad is just a young guy
Yep.
in a little bit older body, okay? Because at that time he was only 30, which is a baby.
He's a kid.
I mean,
That's how old I was when I had Chloe.
yeah,
I was 30 years old.
at 30 years old, number one, you don't know shit. You're still learning, you're still growing,
Absolutely.
and you're just doing the best you can. You even if you didn't have the perfect example, or the perfect roadmap,
Well,
or
yeah, you know what, Daniel? What is that? What is perfect? I mean, what is perfect?
I mean,
I mean, is
you
it?
tell me.
That's what
Because
I
I
mean.
don't know.
What is perfect? What is the perfect roadmap? How do you look at? I mean, we're these creatures that are spawned through a male female interaction. We're born into this world by two totally different human beings, and you create an entirely different human being. How is there a roadmap to take this child down? All you're doing is influencing the child with the influences that you had growing up and the things that meant something to you, the value that you held in things. So I think that as sons, another thing we have in common is, as sons, as we I loved what you said about forgiving our parents, but I've got one that I'm going to touch on briefly, is, and I still struggle with this, is that finding forgiveness for ourselves, because our own self persecution will take us to addictions. It'll take us to reckless behavior. It'll take us to disharmony, to relationships that are dead end. And we put ourselves through this as some sort of punishment and suffering because we don't forgive ourselves. And I think that there are times that I excel, I do better, and there are times that I fall prey to that guilt and that weight that is carried by not forgiving yourself for who you are.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you think we don't forgive ourselves?
Because that is that is a fantastic question. The reason that I meditate on, that I find, is that because we are the watchers. We are the watchers. No one sees us as closely as we see ourselves. We can lie to the world. We can literally, we can put on the face. You can, the ladies can do their makeup. They can do all that. The men can work out in the gyms. They can wear the clothing. They can do all the glam. The reality is that when you look in the mirror, what are you looking at? And you have to learn to love everything you're looking at. You have to love what you're looking at. You have to love who you are. And that's not always easy. That is not always easy. There are times you're like, wow, I could do more. I could do better. And the gods have given us 24 hours in a day. So, we're doing what we can with what we have. I heard it said one time, and I love the expression, that I did what I could with the time I was given. And I would like to maximize that. I would like to amplify that. I'd like to put it on steroids. I'd like to jack it up. I want to get everything I can out of this life. I want to take it straight to the mountaintop. I want it all.
So that's another perfect segue. The things that you do seem pretty extreme. Man rides a motorcycle, loves great music and art and all types of things. So I want to touch on those subjects, but I need you to answer one question before we start. What in this life brings you joy?
Well, I'm gonna answer your question very directly. I'm not going to be vague, but solitude. On the outside, when people look at me, you talked about the music, the motorcycle, the. I mean, I'm covered in tattoos. I ride a bike. My life is basically all over me. But the reality of that is, what brings me joy is independent solitude. Just the idea that I'm free, that I'm unencumbered by fear. I mean, we all have fear. You're going to feel it. But I do not let fear direct me. And that brings me joy. That I can overcome that I still have my power, my willpower to get through adversity, incredible struggles. Like, I digress. We spoke briefly about my beautiful brother Daniel. Getting through that at 17 years old was that in itself was Everest. Just that one episode of that past. Not to dive too deeply into the past, but what brings me joy, to answer your question, is the love that I still carry that was not stripped from me. I guess it's that I still vibrate love and appreciation and gratitude.
That's so good. So what do you do on a daily, weekly basis to tap into that solitude?
One of the things that I do daily is that I have a very strange biology. Like my chemistry is, I wake up every day. I have an internal alarm clock. Every day, regardless of what time I went to bed, I'm up between 4 and 5 every single day. Sometimes it's 3 to 5, depending on the time of year, because I notice that my sleep cycles resonate with the time of the year, and also the phases of the moon, which is rather curious. So I start every day before sunrise. I make French press coffee in the morning, and I go out onto my front patio, my front porch, and I look to the east and I watch the dawn. I watch the sunrise. And if I miss that sunrise, I can feel the effects throughout the rest of the day. So that is definitely integral into watching it rise and watching it fall every day. I think that I learned that very early on, that about time and how precious it is. And so the solitude, That's why I do not expend my time in wasteful efforts any longer. If I find something to be a waste of my time, then I'm just not present. That I just exclude myself from that. I don't ridicule it. I don't put anyone. I mean, it's just not where I belong, and I can feel it. That's part of that energy I spoke of earlier. So
That's really good. The reason I ask that is because there's so many people out there that they're trying to they're trying to navigate this thing called life, and everybody has words of wisdom when it comes to what they do. If they whether it's meditation or getting up early. I wish I was a morning person. I do wake up every morning, what seems to be 6:50 a.m. My grandfather always had an internal clock, and he would talk about it how he goes to bed, doesn't matter, middle of the night, and
yeah,
then he wakes up every morning 5:30 on the dot.
absolutely,
I was
absolutely.
like, well, what's that like? And now for some reason I got it.
You
So
know, and it's so great that you like to touch on this a little bit because these are the things that I think men should talk about, and women. I think women too. I think it's good to, as human beings, to embrace life, to realize that the things that we forget about every day, that we take so much for granted, are the true luxuries of being here. When we see someone who's sick and they put up a photo of them in the hospital or something, and we're like, oh, you poor thing, we're praying for you. And it's like, well, where were you 5 days ago? Why aren't you respecting the gift every day? And I think that that's the that's the essence. We have to tap back into the love of being alive, not what we gain, not what we one of the things I admire about you, Daniel, is your giving nature, the ability that you have to just keep giving back. And I think that it's inspiring. It's inspiring. We there are so many people out there that are gravitating towards this impulse with social media that and this doesn't mean anything about the podcast or anything. It's that I'm talking about the simple doom scrolling and the just wasting your life watching someone else's life and thinking your life is not of value. Well, make it of value. Enjoy the fact that you have health and that somebody's in hospital with cancer, and that enjoy the fact that you've been given another day to wake up to and rise and conquer and to seize something in yourself that you didn't the day before.
so on that subject, do you follow Gary Vaynerchuk? Gary V?
Oh, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So one of my absolute there's two favorite quotes. Number one is "fuck Mondays." Uh, I love that one, especially since I've only had like two and a half, like I guess real jobs,
Yeah.
like where I had to fill out a W-2 or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I've
Um,
been 1099 for most of my
yeah,
life.
I
So.
worked for Target for 2 seasons,
Yeah.
and I did phone sales for Time Warner when I was 15.
Oh my God. Okay.
I had to talk people into their magazine
There
subscriptions
you go.
6 months after they canceled them.
Oh my goodness.
So I learned sales from a very early age. But I like Gary Vee because he's always been real,
Yeah.
and he doesn't sugarcoat anything. And a lady, you probably remember the video. She walked up to his taxi, and she said, "Gary, please give me something. Give me 3 words." And he said, "You're gonna die."
There it is, man.
And
There it is.
from what you had said, and when I heard that from Gary, and you just reiterating it, it brings that those 3 words back. You're gonna die. And for the majority of my life, John, I have experienced very little death,
Wow.
and
Well, you're fortunate.
I've
You're fortunate.
it almost made me feel like I was the one living in the simulation, and you guys are all just NPCs. We're walking around just living in my world,
Right.
because I kept hearing about people's stories and tragedy, and as an empath, my heart would break for them, and I would just want to know, how can I help? How can I take my prayer and add action to it? And when it come to major loss. My first major losses started happening in 2021. I lost my grandmother. Um,
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's.
she
I loved
she
my
yeah,
nana. My nana was a beautiful lady. Yeah.
she had gotten COVID after, and in Florida, thank God we were freer than most, but she spent almost all of 2020 at her house by herself, and um, still helping raise her great grandchildren, taking them
Wow.
to school.
Wow.
She was always such a loving and caring person. She is the lock screen on my phone. Has been since the day she died.
Well, you can see that. You can see some of that of your grandmother in you.
Yeah,
That you
thank you.
carry. You carry that with you. Yeah.
The reason I mention her, she impacted my life in so many ways, and that loss is what really amped my levels for feeling for other people and what they were going through. And then a year ago, within uh, not even a month, we lost my grandfather, and then lost my aunt. And
I think this all happened to you all at once.
yeah,
Wow.
so experiencing loss at that level, it it struck me in so many ways, and it taught me a lot of lessons that we are temporary.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
And you
Absolutely.
think about when you're young, when you're in your teens, in your 20s, sometimes even in your 30s, you just feel like you're invincible. You feel like you can do anything, and you're just going to live forever.
I think that that is a serious requirement that our psyche has to go through. Um, and we all grew up in various homes, and all the tragedies that can happen in a family. But I think the invincibility of youth is almost like a protection for the youth getting through to maturity, and that can be stripped. That invincibility of youth can be stripped by multiple factors. Um, trauma being, whether it's there's a plethora of ways which I won't dive into now. Um, but that invincibility of youth is required to achieve the level of maturity to find the real self. Because we're not, what you see in the mirror at 14, 15 years old, that's not you. That's like a neophyte. I mean, you're not even near you yet. At 56 years old, I still find things I'm discovering about myself, um, that I find interesting. Not to, you know to dive into that either, but I enjoy reading. I enjoy writing. I paint. I work. I love. I ride. I live. I'm always ready for the next scene, the next adventure. Action. Let's go. Take action, as Anthony Robbins loves to say. Anthony Robbins loves to say the biggest thing you can do is take action. People always talk about change. Well, do something. Change. But what did you do differently today than you did yesterday? You know, did you get up earlier? Did you work out? Did you take vitamins? Did you take supplements? What are you doing for your health? What are you doing for your friends and family? What are you doing? What are you contributing? What are you giving back? And what are you giving to yourself? What kind of nourishment are you giving your psyche and your soul and your spirit? I've heard you kind of touch loosely over our conversation that I can tell there's a spiritual side to you. And I'm glad that you have that, because if you're devoid of that spirituality, I think that's where a lot of the cancerous kind of things that can happen to a human being happen. I mean, it starts to eat away at your insides, and you start to lose part of being human. I think you start to decay inside. I think you need to be sensitive, but on the outside, to go back to what we were talking about being a man, you still have to have your armor on. You still got to walk out every day with a shield and sword. You got to protect everything that you love. So, and part of that is yourself, and it's not just about like taking care of the job. That's like one of the things that really bothers me is when you meet somebody and the very first thing they want to talk about is like, oh, well, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's like, why is that important?
Yeah.
You know,
It's I I am so glad you said that. So we're both in networking. We're around a lot of people.
oh yeah,
It is actually the most selfish question you could ask is what do you do?
because people want to dive right into it. They
Yeah.
want to tell you about themselves.
Yes. So here's the funny part. You're tapping on it. When someone, if you were to come up to me and say, "What do you do?" You do not want to hear what I have to say. You want you want
you
the
want to open a
15
dialogue,
you want the 15 to 20 seconds of me.
right?
You want to cut me off or segue into the 3 to 15 minutes of what you do when you don't really know me
And
and you don't know that I do not give a damn what you do. I do not care about your wealth or your accomplishments or all the things you want to pat yourself on the back for.
none of it.
I only care about who you are.
Good.
And I'm a very, very good judge of character. Um, I used to be guilty of staying too long, and now I'm way better at hiring quick and firing quick. I'm better
I like
at
that.
in a conversation that if it's not a lesson, it's a blessing, or if it's not a blessing, it's a lesson, and you got to move on from there. I live by many, many quotes, and one is the pain you feel today is the strength you feel tomorrow. The other one,
I like that.
the
Oh,
other
I
one,
like that.
the
The
other
pain
one.
you feel today is the strength you feel tomorrow. I
That's right.
like that. I
I,
like that.
I have that tattooed on my ribs
Nice.
as a constant reminder. The other saying, and I'm going to repeat this one twice, is the least you will accept is the most you can expect. The least you will accept is the most you can expect. So when it comes to relationship, when it comes to friendship, when it comes to business contact, when it comes to yourself, when it comes to your health, your wealth, your family, your life, your past, your present, your future, if you will accept little, then why the hell are you accepting or expecting much?
Much.
And
Exactly.
if you're going to accept to be treated like garbage, why are you expecting to be treated like a king?
Preach. Come
It
on.
doesn't
Come on.
happen. It doesn't
on.
exist like that.
You know what's funny? You brought up who are you? You had mentioned a moment ago, who are you? And it reminded me of the film Anger Management. And one of the things that has been engrossing to me my entire life is cinema. I love character portrayal. I love storytelling. And Jack Nicholson is a master of storytelling. I mean, he becomes the character. He dissolves into the character. He's incredible. And in Anger Management, Adam Sandler's going to his first meeting, and they ask him, "Who are you?" And he starts to tell them about his job, and they're like, "No, that's what you do. But who are you?" And he gets upset trying to describe who he is. And I think that we live in a society that I don't think a lot of people could do that. I don't think that if you literally sit with them and have a sandwich, have a conversation over coffee or whatever, who are you? It's very difficult to define for in this modern age. Everything is moving at light speed so fast, so integrated, and so many devices and all these things. It's like we get lost in it. And I think that we need to find our way back. We need to get inside, and you're very good at that. I was attracted to your energy right off the bat, and we were introduced by a mutual friend, And I think he felt that, and he said, I got a guy I want you to meet. And I'm very grateful for that. And but I do believe that people attract one another. I believe that energies attract, and you will find your way to where you belong. It's you just have to be patient, and that's something I struggle with. I am not the most patient uh, man in the world. I want it, and I'm going to have it, and I want it now. I don't always get it, which adds to the frustration of waking up the next day and then firing all cannons, going after it. But yeah, I definitely. Who are you is a huge question.
I think if more people spent time on who, like, searching within themselves and could work on a better definition of who they are, I think that not only would your networking go a whole lot better, but you would find out very quickly who you connect to. And um, a really, really good friend of mine, she said the other day to us, she goes, she's all about putting out positivity right now. There's no negativity. And she said, I want you to eat, just not at my table.
Ooh, ooh! I like
It's
that.
it
I like that.
smacked me in the face so hard because I've always I used to want a ton of friends, and then I realized that every time my circle,
I'm
yeah,
not cutting you off, but I can relate to that.
yeah,
I can relate to that, man, so tightly. And that just spoke straight to my heart right
yeah, no,
there.
it punched me too. It got
Because
me.
I was an outsider. Growing up, I was the guy always on the outside.
Yeah,
I had a small group of friends. And when I say small, I mean on one hand. Like, that's what I had.
the way it should be.
And they're still my friends today. I mean, I can pick up the phone and it's like no time. I mean, my oldest friend I met when I was 8 years old, and his name is Mark. And I looked across the street diagonally. He's wrestling a garden hose. He was pretending he was the Hulk wrestling a serpent, and the hose is flashing water everywhere. My brothers and I had just moved in with my father, and I had finished unpacking, and I'm sitting on the back of my dad's Grand Torino, just like Starsky and Hutch. His was metallic blue. And I'm sitting on the trunk, and I look over and I start laughing, and he sees me, and he raises his hand from across the street. And I, honest to God, Daniel, to this day, we're still like, I can pick up the phone and no time has passed at all. And I'm, like I said, I'm 56 years old.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So there's lifelong friendships like that. That it's so ironic the conversations you have. Just over the last few days, I've had that conversation of if it was 2 a.m. and I needed you, would you answer the phone?
I'm probably awake.
And so there's a lot of sayings, like I said, that I live by. And when I say the least you will accept is the most you can expect, and then when Jamie hit me with the I want you to eat, but not at my table.
Not at my table.
Because I'm very, very big on who I break bread with. Like I get asked a lot for lunches and for dinners, and let's go here, let's grab a drink. I want to talk, I want to do this. And it's like I found that the smaller my circle is, the more at peace I am.
Yeah. Again, to go back to you asked what brings me joy. It's the solitude. I mean, my home is modest. I actually named my home. Where I live, I call Pinecone Preserve. And I call it that because of the amount of pines that I have on my property and the pine cones that my wife enjoys gathering, and we use them in the beds around the pine trees that, are in our yard. I have chickens and these things like that. But that solitude, what brings me joy is home, is having a home, having a place where all of that is silenced. All the things that are plaguing us, it becomes silenced. And God, what you said about breaking bread, I am I'm down with that. Man, I understand that completely. Because like what you said is like people ask all the time, like, "Hey, you want to get together for a drink? You want to go out to dinner? You want to do this? You want to do that?" It's like, well, in our minds, we always think of the motivation. What is your motivation to have a drink with me? What is your motivation to talk to me?
Yeah.
Um,
It's usually very selfish. Um, Unfortunately, you know, there are a lot of people out there with good hearts, but
oh yeah,
there's so many people they just want to figure out what they can get.
it's an angle.
And then what's funny is usually the people that start with that sentence, "Hey, so what do you do?" Those are the people that are asking you to lunch, and you're like, I do not, and I attribute all this to my wife. We've been married a little over 3 years now. Just celebrated.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's excellent.
Um, she has done many things in my life in a very short period of time. She has made my house a home.
Ooh,
She
beautiful.
has
Beautiful.
absolutely reinvigorated my focus in my personal health. Um, um, I'm a Christian. She brought me back to church. I've been out of church for many years. Like she brought me back to God, which was massive in my life. Um, and it's not like I went too far away. It's just she just I don't know. She just brought that fire back in me. And then she taught me how to protect my peace. And when
Protect your
yeah,
peace.
and like she has encouraged me that if I was in a room, just like you said, you can walk in a room and feel whether you're, good or bad and what you need to do in that moment.
Oh yeah.
She has woken up a part of me that said, you know what, if I don't feel, positive in that room, that it's okay to leave that room.
That's and the way that you said it, Daniel. The way that you just executed that was incredible. Your wife didn't give you that. And I'm celebrating my 10-year wedding anniversary this weekend.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been together 17 years. And she's my best friend. I mean, I can relate to the feeling that you have for your wife. I She's my best friend. And I'll never forget it. My mother asked me when I met her, why her? Johnny, I was a hairstylist in another life. And I owned my own hair salon and things like that. So I was always around women and all my life growing up. I mean, I've just always been around women. And I love women. Uh, I have two beautiful daughters, lovely wife, love my mother. But my mother had asked me, why her? And I said, she's simple, Mom. And it was that love that it was just all encompassing. There was nothing behind it. She just loved without explanation, without she just loves. And she not even loved, she loves to this day. Um, I still get the texts, I miss you. Where are you? When am I see you? And those make a man smile in the day. You're out there hustling and you get those messages and it just fires your heart up. Um, I kind of got off on a tangent about Melissa, but I forgot where we were going.
No, that's all right. That's what the tangents are for, and that's it. Just shows how much you love her because
Oh, I do her.
you lose yourself in that.
I do.
And the same thing when I talk about Sarah, I truly it started with my daughter, and then when I got married, I realized that because my daughter's off, she's doing her own thing. She's busy. She's got stuff to do. She's making money. She's raising steer and lamb, and she got a whole.
She's got that armor of youth. That
She is me and
the invincibility of youth.
and rocking and rolling. But the only reason when I woke up this morning that I went to work, that I even left the house, was to go earn an income, provide for my family,
Beautiful.
and go right back to my
right back
home. So when people ask me, "Hey, do you want to lunch? Do you want to grab drinks? Do you want to go out?" No, I do not. I I don't mind. Like if I'm in town and I want to go to lunch, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But I said most of the time,
But when that car parks at my house, I ain't leaving.
I'm done. I'm done. I would rather, John, I would rather get home, throw on some sweats and a t-shirt,
There you go, brother.
snuggle up with my wife.
Yeah.
We've been watching the James Bond series.
Oh, awesome.
So
Awesome. The original 007?
we started at the beginning.
Fantastic.
Netflix has released all the James Bonds except for two that weren't filmed in UA Studios. So we have literally every night we watch a James Bond. There's like 27 of them.
I love it. And you know what's funny is I can totally relate to what you're saying because my wife, first of all, anywhere my wife goes, she's got to take a binky. She's got to take a little blanket. She has to have a little blanket. And my wife is notorious. We will start a program or a series or something. And as the credits are rolling in the beginning, she's like, should we make some popcorn? Which means, will you make some popcorn? And my girls all love the way I do the popcorn because I do it the old-fashioned way. I saute the kernels and do the whole thing. And
goodness,
and oh yeah, no, it's fun. But I always tease her. I say, okay, is there anything else we need to do before we start the series, before we start the movie? You know, but no, and it's those little intricacies that we love about these ladies and that they share their life with us so willingly and so lovingly. And I you talked about joy earlier, and I will tell you that my wife is truly a treasure to me, an absolute. The relationship that we share is, you've met her.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just a lovely human being, and there's no malice in her.
Yeah.
Like she is truly such a pure spirit.
You can see that in her demeanor. Like you can tell that you guys, you're perfect for each other.
I appreciate that.
There's no denying that. Like you guys, you fit together well.
I appreciate
that. I don't know. It's just really cool to see other people.
I don't think I've had the pleasure to meet Sarah yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
she's.
I do look forward to meeting her. You know,
so she'll be at annual luncheon next week. So if you're heading out that way, I do get her to some networking events every now and again. But yeah, I'd love for you to meet her. She is amazing.
You know,
She's
you brought
awesome.
up that word several times in our discussion today, and I'm a linguist. I love vocabulary. I cannot stand when somebody articulates incorrectly. I'm like a grammar nerd. And you brought up networking, and I think it's interesting to convey, especially to your listeners, who are you networking with? You know, I've heard it said, and I know Gary has said this, and other leaders like Gary, that you are a direct reflection of the 5 closest people that you associate with. Is that what you want out of your life? Is that what you want your life to grow and become? What do you value about those relationships? When it comes to the word networking, I think it's important, terribly, terribly important, to understand that not everyone you meet is someone that you're going to be around.
That's so good.
You know, like you said, you know, I want you to eat, but I'm just not at my table.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the fun networking to me now is on a whole different level than it used to be when we started our brands. When I walk into a room to network, I promise you, I am there to make 5 to 10 connections.
Nice.
For everybody else. I'm not even there for myself anymore. I truly just want to find out who can I connect, and not just for their prosperity, not just their pocketbook. I want to connect people that will enrich people's lives.
Well, I think that's a gift that you have. I think I noticed that right away with you. I think that I believe you when you say that, which is because I have trust issues. We can go into that at a later date as well. But I have incredible trust issues. And when I hear you say that, I believe you because I see your actions. My mother always said when I was a boy, don't tell me you're sorry. Show me you're sorry. And I think the same thing with you. Your actions speak volumes. And the connections that you're making, those 5 to 10, that you're enriching someone's life by introducing this person to that person, it doesn't benefit you like immediately, but you cannot deny. I think I think you'd agree with me that there's a satisfaction that I connected these two people and their lives are better for it.
Yes.
You know,
So in life, my family brings me joy.
yes.
In my businesses and my brands, making other people happy is my joy. Like that, there's nothing better than knowing that someone needed to meet someone, or just they wanted a handshake or an open door or a connection to somebody. And if I have the ability to connect those two dots, I my whole day's made. I don't need a dollar from that. I don't need residual dollars. I don't need percentages. I don't need, I don't even, 9 times out of 10, I don't even need the thank you. Sometimes all I want eventually is just, man, thank you so much for, thanks for making that happen.
I'm going to jump. I'm going to
Yeah.
jump right on your train right here, man. I'm going to tell you something. I think one of the greatest feelings at this stage of my life that I'm at is small acts of kindness. When I show, if I open a door for a woman, an elderly woman, or if I do anything, if I greet someone, did you ever notice if you smile at someone, what are they going to do? They're going to smile back. And this is a cute story. If you have to blurp this out, you can blurp it out.
No, you're good.
I was in a supermarket line, and I was in an incredibly good mood that day, and I was smiling and talking to the cashier, and I turned to the woman behind me in line, and I smiled at her, and the woman literally had the audacity. There was something sick in her; you could just feel it, and she's there like, "What the fuck are you so happy about?"
Mm.
And man, it ripped through me like a razor blade. I mean, and I just frankly looked at her and I said, "What are you so miserable about?"
Yeah.
And she could have probably wrote a book for me about what she was miserable about. But the reality is that smile at somebody, lend a hand, lift someone up if you can. And I think that those small acts of kindness is probably the greatest richness that you know, dropping off a little pumpkin around Halloween at my mother's home, just putting it right on her doorstep if she's not home, or just little acts like that show that you were thinking of someone other than yourself is an incredible gift, and I'm very grateful to the gods that I still hold that I have that ability after, like I said, the tumultuous, life that I have lived. So
It's so easy to list the negatives. It is always harder to pull the positive out of somebody. So if you were to ask that lady, what makes you happy, she would have a very hard time answering
she
that.
would have struggled.
And it's unfortunate. There are a lot of people hurting out there, and it's unfortunate that she had to ruin your joy
And you know what, Dan?
in that moment.
To be honest with you, Daniel, when I reflect on it back, it's not so much that she ruined it, but I wanted her to kind of have an insight into the way I was thinking. Like, come on. I mean, why prey on your misery? Why sit there and wallow and dwell in it and just live there? It's like that old expression you hear people say, "You're not a tree, move."
Yeah.
It's the same thing about your state of mind and your consciousness. We are spiritual.
Yes.
This is just a meat suit. We're
That's
just
good.
walking around in a meat suit.
Yeah.
And science has proven that. I mean, faith. If you're any kind of faithful individual,
Yeah.
regardless of your God,
Yeah.
we are spiritual beings. Einstein himself said, "Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's just we're forever." And the reality is that we linger with those that we meet. It could be in the supermarket, it could be at a networking event, it could be engaged in business, it could be engaged in a passing by. But we linger in those people's minds. How many times have you thought about, Daniel? How many times have you thought about somebody you saw just randomly after, and you're driving down the road and you're thinking, boy, that was an interesting,
Yeah, I mean,
encounter.
all the time. Um, it's a gift and a curse. I'll tell you that much because, especially in traffic, I try my best to just be chill. But there are so many people that drive angry, and I'm not just talking about normal road rage. I'm talking about people that like their anger shows with their gas pedal and especially their brake pedal.
And the blast of black smoke that pours out of the back of the diesel.
Hey, listen. Sometimes you got to roll some coal.
You got to roll some coal, baby.
Except for when my windows are down, I can't stand when they do that.
Oh my god! Or try being on a bike.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. You have nowhere to hide.
You're not hiding.
So, well, listen. I want to thank you for coming on Underdogz today. We have so much more to talk about. So there's going to be a John Schellenberg part 2 and 3. I can feel it.
I would love it. It'd be my pleasure to join you. Absolutely.
Thank you guys for listening to Underdogz today. Make sure to hit the notifications, stay with us, like and subscribe. Love you guys. Have a good day.